So as I said, we're just gonna look at how to write a hypothesis. A lot of this probably would be a review from last few years, but if not, that's okay. There's a worksheet that's going to go with this PowerPoint just to make sure that you understand what you're doing, and I will take it up tomorrow when you are back. Okay, but make sure that you are actually going through everything as well. So, recalling from our previous note, hypothesis is a prediction of what you think will happen. It's pretty much an educated guess, all right? So what you actually going to think will happen, and it's always in a form of an if and then statement. So it's always a prediction of if I do this, then this will happen. So going back to our variable, our independent variable recall is the one that you're actually going to change. So if you change your independent variable, what happens to your dependent variable, the variable that you're actually going to go ahead and measure? Your hypothesis should always explain what you expect to happen. It should always be clear and understandable. It should be something that's testable and measurable. So remember when we talk about quantitative and qualitative, so when we're talking about hypothesis, a good hypothesis is something that you can go ahead and measure. So it should be quantitative. And it contains an independent and your dependent variable. So what you're actually going to vary and what you're going to go ahead and measure. So let's look at an example. So a hypothesis is it's a possible answer to a question. So let's say if I pose a question, what effect does steering have on dissolving rate? Now, the best thing to first figure out is what's your independent and what your dependent variable is. Once you have figured out what your independent and dependent variable is, you can go ahead and devise and write up a good, clear hypothesis. When we're looking at the question, what effect does steering have on dissolving rate? So you know what you're measuring is your dissolving rate. So that's your dependent variable. How much you're stirring, that is something that you have control over, and that's something that you're going to change. So that is your independent variable. Now, when you're talking about your hypothesis, it's always if I do this to my independent variable, what is the cause or what is the effect on my dependent variable? So with that in mind, so your hypothesis becomes if the water is stirred, then the tablet will dissolve faster. And there's always a reason why as to that's happening. So this here is the key, because stirring increases dissolving rate. And this is the part where you actually have to do research for. Okay, so this is the part that we need to do research for in order to be able to get through there. Now just recalling again, if we were to write this in words, independent variable is stirring the water, and dependent variable is the rate that the tablet will dissolve in. Now let's look at another example. So now our next question is, what effect does number of hours spent on studying have on an exam? Now I want you to try this, but I'm going to do this here as well with you. So maybe pause the video, try it, and then see if you had the same thought process as myself. So what effect does number of hours spent on studying have on exam results? So this here is your dependent variable. The number of hours spent studying, that is something that you have control over. This is your independent variable. So once we have our independent and dependent variable, we can go ahead and come up with our if and then. So if we change our independent variable, then the dependent variable, what happens to the dependent variable? Is it increasing or decreasing? So let's look at that. So if the number of hours spent studying increases, then the exam results with, oh, sorry, this should be will, so I have a typo there. The exam results will increase because, again, so why do I have that hypothesis? Because the students spent a lot of time practicing, right? Again, this is a part that you actually will spend a lot of time researching, because a hypothesis needs to be backed up with some of the answers as well, and that should be well researched. Now again, so independent variable is the number of hours studying, and your dependent variable is the exam results. Now along with this video, I am posting a worksheet. Now I don't expect you to finish the entire worksheet, but I do expect you to finish the first page. So you can just write it in your notes, and then we'll take it up tomorrow when we're back. Happy snow days!